Right friends, welcome back to Questions and Answers Advanced for 53rd week. Japan agreed to pay 1 billion yen to South Korea to settle the issue of comfort women. This is the issue which strained relations between Japan and South Korea for several years. What happened is, during the period of Second World War and prior to that, several Korean women were kept as sex slaves, and some of the women also belong to China, Philippines, then Indonesia, Thailand, and around 2 lakh women were forced to be sex slaves for Japanese soldiers during World War II and prior to that. And this issue strained relations between Japan and South Korea for several years, and at present only 46 of those comfort women are still alive in South Korea. And finally, Japan expressed apology and acceptance of a deep responsibility for the issue, and at the same time it agreed to pay 1 billion yen to settle the issue forever, right? So this is the issue which is straining relations for the past 70 years as the World War II ended in the year 1945. Look into the next one. The report entitled Medium Term Path to Financial Inclusion was submitted by Deepak Mohanty. Deepak Mohanty is Executive Director of Reserve Bank of India. The Prime Minister of the country participated in the 80th anniversary celebrations of Reserve Bank of India, and at that time the Prime Minister advised to form a committee for arriving at the strategy for medium term financial inclusion in the country, and for that purpose this Deepak Mohanty committee was appointed by Reserve Bank of India, and recently they gave recommendations, and important recommendations include interest subvention scheme should be replaced by universal crop insurance of rupees 2 lakhs. At present, central government is giving interest subvention when farmers are taking crop loans, that is the 2% interest subvention, and farmers are getting at 7%. When farmers are paying back in time, they are getting additional interest subvention of another 3%. So farmers are getting loans at very low interest from banks, but Deepak Mohanty committee feels that some of these loans are going into the hands like money lenders, and banks are also categorizing loans given against gold as crop loans. That is another lacuna in the system. That's why, to benefit farmers in the wholesome perspective, Deepak Mohanty committee recommended universal crop insurance of rupees 2 lakhs. Second important point is emphasized the use of mobile technology for last mile connectivity, and he also recommended corporate social responsibility funds may be used to make commercially viable the telecom companies when they are extending their services to rural areas to have last mile connectivity. The third important point is Universal Service Obligation Fund, which is used for expanding telecom services in rural areas, should support innovation in mobile banking. Then he brought another important concept of Sukanya Shiksha, that means that links education with the banking habits. And he also advised interoperability of micro ATMs. Micro ATMs are used by banking correspondents to expand banking services in rural areas, and he recommended interoperability of micro ATMs. That means they should be connected to national financial switch, that one customer of one particular bank can access services of other bank. And if you want more in detail, please listen to lecture part as well as news analysis of first week of 2016. Name the country where death sentence was handed over to 2 students for the murder of secular blogger Ahmed Rajib Haider. If you look at Bangladesh, all of you should not forget the Bangladesh Liberation War of 1971. In Bangladesh Liberation War, India supported Bangladesh, and several atrocities were committed by Pakistani army, and some of the nationals of Bangladesh, of present day Bangladesh, supported Pakistani army in committing atrocities. In those days, some of the nationals of Bangladesh supported Pakistani army for committing atrocities. and now these cases are being taken up and several persons involved with atrocities are handed over either life sentence or death sentence, and this is infuriating some of the people in Bangladesh, and recently attacks on secular bloggers are taking place, and now the Bangladesh government handed over death sentence to 2 persons associated with murder of secular blogger Ahmed Rajib Haider. And if you look at our neighboring country Bangladesh, all is not well, because several secular bloggers are being murdered in recent times, and the death sentence being awarded at this juncture to the persons associated with atrocities committed during liberation war is also being questioned by several human rights groups across the world, because these death sentences are being given after a gap of 43 to 44 years, which is not in the process of natural justice as felt by various human rights groups. Meeting of the Genetic Engineering Approval Committee. What is Genetic Engineering Approval Committee? Genetic Engineering Approval Committee is under the Environment Ministry, and it looks at issue of introduction of genetically modified crops. And genetically modified crops is the big debatable issue in this country, not only in this country, across the world. This is a debatable issue, and recently meeting of GEAC was held to discuss the introduction of genetically modified crop of mustard. And this genetically modified mustard plant was developed by a branch of Delhi University, and at the same time, please don't forget, genetically modified crop is introduced in this country in large scale for cotton crop. Now efforts are being made to expand these genetically modified varieties to other crops. Right friends, look into the next one. 106 medicines were added. 70 were deleted from National List of Essential Medicines, and at present the list contains 376. This National List of Essential Medicines is notified by CDSCO. This CDSCO is under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, and this notifies National List of Essential Medicines, and at the same time, this CDSCO is associated with for granting licenses for medicines manufacturing for the first time, and this is under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. And once this list is notified by CDSCO, then the rates are capped by NPPA. And please don't forget, the CDSCO is under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. NPPA, that is National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority, is under the Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers. And you may ask a pertinent question, how the drug is classified under National List of Essential Medicines? I would like to tell you 3 points. First and the foremost is, it is approved in India. Second important point is, it is used to treat a disease which is a local public health problem. Third important point is, it is cost effective. Keeping these 3 things in mind, National List of Essential Medicines is declared by CDSCO, and subsequently the prices are capped by NPPA. Right friends, look into the next one. Legal status imposed by a court on a firm or individual unable to meet debt obligation is known as bankruptcy. Nowadays, we are talking more about insolvency and bankruptcy bill of 2015. That's why I thought prudent to ask this question. The legal status imposed by a court on a firm or individual unable to meet debt obligation. That means a company has taken loan from State Bank of India and it is not able to pay back. Under those circumstances, some court declared that company as bankrupt. So that state is called bankruptcy, and nowadays when the companies are going into sickness, there is no definite mechanism and there is no well laid out mechanism to bring that company out of sickness. And at present, various agencies are looking at sickness. I have listed various agencies like Company Law Board and Debt Recovery Tribunals, SURFACI Act, and Sikh Industrial Company Special Provisions Act of 1985. So various mechanisms are available to deal with the sickness, but Government of India thought when a company is in sickness, it should be brought out of sickness. There should be some mechanism to bring out of sickness within 180 days. Keeping that in mind, T.K. Viswanathan committee was established, and based on T.K. Viswanathan committee recommendations, this Insolvency and Bankruptcy Bill 2015 was introduced in Parliament, and finally this is referred to Select Committee of Parliament. And once this bill is passed, then business failures will be dealt within 180 days. At present, they are taking somewhere around 5 years to 15 years. Right friends, look into the next one. Against dollar, rupee weakened for the 5th consecutive year in 2015. During the year, it fell 4.7% against dollar, and Indian rupee is much stable in comparison to other currencies like Russian ruble, Malaysian ringgit, South African rand, Brazilian real, and peso of Argentina fell somewhere between 17% to 35% in 2015, and Indian currency is much stable and it fell by only 4.7%. In spite of global uncertainties during the past several years, rupee continued to be somewhat stable in comparison to the currencies of other developing countries or emerging economies. Right? And the value of rupee is determined by market forces. When there are excess capital flows, rupee will appreciate. When capital flight is taking place, rupee will depreciate, and in order to prevent the rupee much higher appreciation or much higher depreciation, RBI will step in between by purchasing dollars or selling dollars as per the need. When the rupee is appreciating too much, then RBI will purchase dollars. When the rupee is depreciating too much, RBI will sell dollars in the open market. You can say in the year 2015, Indian currency is much stable in comparison to the currencies of emerging economies. Name the country where Uighur Muslims are blamed for several public attacks. There are around 10 million Uighur Muslims in China. They are staying in Xinjiang province of China, and they belongs to Turkish origin. Their ethnic origin belongs to Turkey, and recently there are news reports that China is clamping several restrictions on these Uighur Muslims, and they are protesting at several places in China, and they are attacking public installations. So if someone talks about Uighur Muslims, they are situated in China, Xinjiang province of China. Look at the last question. Recently, China has expelled journalist Ursula Gauthier. She belongs to France. Recently, she wrote an article indicating curbs on Uighur Muslims, and as China ranks 176 out of 180 in Press Freedom Index, press is not open and press do not enjoy freedom in China, and severe curbs are there on press freedom in that country. So, in view of this, as the article on Uighur Muslims by France journalist is not palatable to China, recently China expelled journalist Ursula Gauthier. So, she belongs to France. Right friends, with this let us conclude question and answers advanced. And from next week, that is the first week of 2016, this is coming up in a new format. Please wait for the first week to look at the new format of this series. And with this, we are closing questions and answers advanced. Have a nice day. Thank you.